Okay, so in this video, we are going to see the unmounting phase of the life cycle hook. Okay, so the component actually has a different life cycle, right? So in that we have seen the mounting phase of the component. So in this video, we are going to see the unmounting phase of the components. Okay, so let us quickly jump to the slides and see what is the topic all about. Okay, so in the unmounting phase of the component, we have one life cycle hook that gets executed, which is disconnected callback. Okay, so we are going to learn more about this disconnected callback in this video. Okay, so this disconnected callback, when it will be getting invoked is when the component is actually removed from the DOM. Okay, so when you're actually removing the component from the DOM, this disconnected callback will be automatically invoked or fired in the backend. Okay, so we can actually make use of this particular lifecycle hook for our own business logic. Okay, say for example, for what purpose we can use this is we can actually use this to clear our resources. Okay, so if you have used up some of the resources, okay, we can actually use this disconnected callback to clear the resources. So we are going to see a hands-on for this. Okay, so we are going to see a use case, and we are going to see in the VS code with the use case, we are going to try out an example also. Okay, so the important takeaway point is disconnected callback is used to clean up the resources. Okay, so if you have used some initialization activity in the connected callback, okay, so we have learned that connected callbacks can be used for initialization tasks, right? Say for example, if you have actually initialized in the connected callback, like if you have subscribed to a message channel. Okay, I told you, right? We're going to learn sooner. So if you have subscribed for a message channel, we can actually use the disconnected callback for unsubscribing from the message channel. Okay, so we are going to take up one use case here. So if you are having a timer, okay, we have learned the set interval, right? So if you are actually having a timer in your particular code, so you can actually use this disconnected callback for clearing the timer also. Okay, so let us see the hands-on in the VS code. Okay, the takeaway point is if you want to remove the resources or clean up the resources, so this disconnected callback can be used for that purpose. Okay, so let us go to the VS code now. And in the VS code, if you see here, I have already written the code for a few of the things. So let us first see the org now. In the org, you can see here there is a component, right? So this is the parent component. So when I click the show child, I'm going to display my child component. Okay. When I click the close, this child will be closed. So I hope you all know how to do this, right? We have learned in the parent to child communication and child to parent communication. We have learned this, right? So I have applied that code already here. Okay. There is a, in parent template, I'm having a show child button. Okay. Once this button is clicked, this handle show click will be invoked. This is a handler. Okay. So inside the parent JS, what am I doing is I'm just giving the this dot show child as true. Okay, inside the handle show click, okay, in the parent. So this particular show child is actually a Boolean property. So it will be having true or false value based on the clicks. Okay. So if show is clicked, the show child will be true. So if it is true only, I have used here a conditional rendering. So only if the show child is true, this particular child component will be visible. Okay. In the child, what am I having is I'm having a close button. Okay. In the child, I'm having a close button. So we are going to close the child. Okay. So when I'm clicking a close button on my child, handle child click will get invoked automatically. For this handle child click, I have given a dispatch event. Okay. Once the close is clicked in the child, I'm dispatching a custom event here. Okay. The name of the event is close. Okay. So in the parent, what am I doing is when I'm actually embedding the child, I'm using on close and handle close. So on close is the event and handle close is the event listener. So on close is the custom event, right? Which is actually being dispatched from the child. Okay, I hope this all we have learned the basics. So I have already written the code for that. Okay, so now what happens is when the close button is clicked in the particular child, this button will actually invoke or it will be triggering an event and the event will be handled by the parent. So once the close button is clicked, okay, the child will receive the message and the parent will receive the message. In the parent, what am I doing is I'm actually closing the child. Okay, I'm making the show child as false. Okay, so this is what I'm actually doing in this particular code. Okay, we are going to understand disconnected callback. Okay, we are going to understand disconnected callback. To do that in the child, we have to include a disconnected callback, right? Because we are going to test when the child is closed, we are going to check whether the the disconnected callback is being invoked or not. So disconnected callback will be invoked when the component is removed from the DOM, right? So let us have disconnected callback inside the child. Okay, I'm inside the child, you can see here. So I'm going to give disconnected callback. Okay, so inside this, I'm going to give some message. Okay, say for example, I'm going to have, as usual, let us have disconnected callback invoked. So first, let us see the example first, and then let us go to the use case. Okay. So let us first see the order of execution. So when this disconnected callback will be invoked. So let us save this and let us just deploy this. And let us also deploy the parent. Okay. So let us have the word as child here. Okay. In the child. Okay. So that we will know that from where it is being invoked. Okay. So child is deployed, and then we are going to go to the parent. Now we are going to deploy the parent also. Okay. Okay. Just taking some time. Okay. It is deployed now. Okay. Let us go to the org now. Let us refresh this page, and also we'll open the console. Okay. Console, and clear the console first. Okay. Let us clear the console first. Let us just refresh this page again. Okay. Fine. So as of now, you can see here parent constructor is invoked and parent connected callback is invoked and parent rendered callback is invoked. Okay. So we haven't clicked the show child. Okay. Now, as of now, we haven't clicked the show child. So the show child, the child is not yet rendered yet. Okay. Let us click the button show child. Okay. So once the button is clicked, you can see here child constructor is being invoked and child connected callback is invoked and child's rendered callback is invoked. So once it is done, again the parent's rendered callback is invoked. Okay, once the child's life cycle is ended, the parent's rendered callback is again invoked. Okay, now we are going to check when I'm going to click the close button. When I'm actually removing this particular component from my DOM, we are going to see whether disconnected callback is invoked or not. Okay, so I'm going to click close. You can see here the child's disconnected callback is actually invoked. Okay, so when the component is actually removed from our DOM, this disconnected callback will be invoked. Okay, so this is also surprising, right? So the parent rendered callback is again invoked. So the parent will be rendered again and again whenever there is a change in the template. Okay, now we are removing the child and we are actually showing the child, right? So the show child property is actually changing again and again. Because of that, this rendered callback is invoked many times. Okay, so this is a concept. The takeaway point is this disconnected callback will be invoked when the component is actually removed. Okay, so now we will see a small use case. Okay, I told you that disconnected callbacks can be used for cleaning up the resources, right? So let us see a small hands-on here. So what are we going to do is we are going to have a timer. Okay, in the child, I'm going to have a timer. Okay, in the child, I'm going to have a timer. Okay, so in the child connected callback, I'm going to initialize something. Okay, say for example, I'm going to have first let us declare a property here. Okay, let us have a property as timer. This property will be initially 0. So where am I initializing it? I'm initializing it inside the connected callback. I told you that connected callbacks can be used for initialization, right? So this dot timer is equal to 0. Okay, initially it is 0. So I'm going to do some kind of what is that timer it is going to run in the child. Okay, so it will be invoking 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Likewise, it goes on. Okay, so what am I going to do is I'm going to have a separate method for that. Okay, say for example, it will be a start timer. Okay, it is a custom method. Okay, my own method. Okay, so what am I going to do is I'm going to have a set interval. Okay, set interval. Okay, so this is, I hope you know what is the syntax of set interval, right? So we are going to have a arrow method here, and then I'm going to have the seconds as 1000. Okay, so after 1 second, the particular code will get invoked in the interval. Okay, so what am I going to do is I'm going to call this particular this dot timer. I'm going to use this inside, and I'm going to increment by 1. Okay, so this timer value will get incremented 1 by 1 in 1 second gap. Okay, so where am I going to start the timer is when the component is inserted into the DOM. Okay, so when the child component is inserted into the DOM, I want to start this timer. Okay, so where should I include the code now? Where should I invoke this particular method? Since it's a method, we have to invoke somewhere, right? So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go here. Okay, so why am I choosing the connected callback is so I can have the initialization tasks inside the connected callback, right? So I'm going to use this. Okay, so I'm going to use like this. Okay, it should be a this dot timer start time because this is a method, right? This is a method inside the same class. So I have to go with this dot start timer. Okay, so now we are going to check whether this timer is actually displaying in our template. So copy this, go to the child's template, and in the child template, we are going to use the just we'll have some kind of p tag. Okay, and let us have a strong and let us say timer. So bind the timer value here. Okay. So just bind the timer value. Okay. So what we have done is we declared a public property as timer and initializing it as 0 in the connected callback. And I'm having a start timer method, a custom method inside my class. So I'm actually invoking the particular method from my connected callback. So the connected callback can be used for initialization tasks, right? So I'm starting the timer once the component is inserted into the DOM. Okay, so we all know that when the connected callback is invoked, the DOM, the component is actually inserted into the DOM, right? So at that moment, I'm starting the timer. Okay, after that, in that 1 second interval, this timer will get incremented. I'm actually choosing this timer and I'm actually rendering in my template. Okay, so let us see what happens. Let us save this. Okay, let us save this and let us deploy all the component, child and parent. Okay. Let us just deploy the parent also. So let us go to the org and let us clear the console. I'll refresh the page also. Okay, fine. So let us just click the show child and let's see whether the timer is getting invoked, timer is started or not. Okay, let's see here. Okay, can see here the child timer is started now. Okay, so for each timer update, you can see here the child's rendered callback is also getting rendered again and again. It is invoked again and again, right? So when I close this particular button, when I click the close button, I just want to close the timer also. If you don't clear the timer, this component will actually rendered again and again, and the rendered callback will also get rendered again and again. So what happens is it goes to an infinite loop, and the component also will be a very slow component. Okay, to avoid that, when we are closing the particular component, we have to just clear the timer also. Okay, so the best practice is once you're actually, so actually the connected callback, disconnected callback is invoked at the point. Okay, child disconnected callback is invoked. Okay, when the child is closed. So when it is actually show child, again the child constructor is invoked and connected callback of the child is invoked and child rendered callback is also invoked. Okay, so again the timer start running and the child's rendered callback is again and again invoked. Okay, so what are we going to do is we are going to make use of this disconnected callback. Okay, once the close button is clicked, I want to clear the timer. Okay, so we have learned that disconnected callbacks can be used for cleaning up the resources, right? So the whatever resources you have started using in the connected callback, if you have got any initialization done in the connected callback, in the disconnected callback, we can actually clean up that resources. Okay, so we have learned that, right? So we are going to apply that logic here. So go to the child component in the disconnected callback of the child. So we all know that set interval will always return an ID, right? So we are going to fetch that ID. Okay. So let us have a local property as timer ID. So copy this property name and come here. And we all know that set interval will actually return an ID, right? So I'm going to fetch it inside this particular property. So this dot timer ID is equal to, okay. So now I'm having the timer ID, copy this dot timer ID and come to the disconnected callback. And here we can actually write the clear interval. So give that this dot timer ID. So we are going to clear the timer now. Okay. Once the resources is done, okay, once the child component is being closed, you can also clear the resources, whatever we have used. This is a best practice. Okay. So in the connected callback, we have actually started the timer. Okay. And in the disconnected callback, we are actually clearing the interval also. Okay, so let us just save all the files and deploy the child and parent. Okay, let us see what happens. Okay, and let us go to the parent also. So this is how we'll be making use of the disconnected callback. Okay, just come here and clear the console and just refresh this page. Okay, so nothing will be seeing the difference, but what is the thing is the backend, the resources, whatever we have used will get freed up. Okay, and your components performance will get increased. Okay, so the timer started. Okay, so once you are closing this particular child, the timer ID will get cleared also. Okay. Okay, so that is the point we have to note here. Okay, so we have used the disconnected callback for cleaning up the resources. Okay, so this is how we'll be using the disconnected callback. Okay, so this is one of the lifecycle hook. Okay, so it is always a best practice to clean up the resources to make your component to perform well. Okay, so that is the point we have learned from this particular topic, right? So let us meet in the next video. Okay, thank you.